Hi there, everybody. It's Chris van der Kerk here at Blue Rhino Safaris. Welcome to the workshop. We are going to chat a little bit about 4x2s and 4x4s. And I thought it was a good place to start this whole series is to look at the basics of the vehicle as far as the 4x2 and 4x4 go. We will look a little bit later at the ideal components to a safari vehicle. That will come. But for now, let's just look at 4x4 and 4x2. I think there's a bit of a misconception out there that if we're doing 4x4 tours that we are going to do 4x4 stuff and it's going to break cars and things like that. Remember, I'm a professional tour guide. I do not want your vehicle to break down. I don't want you to get into trouble because it is just going to cost you money and it's going to cost us time, and it's not what I'm wanting to do. When I say 4x4 on my trips, it means a 4x4 is required because of the potential of something on the road forward. And I'm going to show you two examples shortly. But first of all, what do I consider a 4x4? We get so many new styles of vehicles and modern takes on a 4x4 that it's difficult these days to say low range and center diff lock and things like that, because some vehicles just don't do that anymore. The modern vehicles often are 4x4 and you can't choose it, and people would say, well, your definition is it must have a low range lever and therefore we just can't do it. It could be a button, it could be a lever, it could be anything. So what is a 4x4 as far as I'm concerned? Now 4x4 is when all four wheels are guaranteed to drive you forward. That is a 4x4. All-wheel drive drives with all four wheels, but if you lift one of the wheels up, the diffs will open up and the vehicle will just stand still. So all-wheel drive is not a four-wheel drive. A four-wheel drives mean there's a guarantee that all four wheels are pulling. Now, different cars do it in different ways. Some would brake the spinning wheel and the other three would then push, which is a four-wheel drive with a modern way. The old Land Cruisers, there's a big lever that you pull and it locks the center diff and you're guaranteed you are in four-wheel drive. And to me, that is what it is. You really only need that four-wheel drive when you are in trouble. When you get to the thick sand or you get to the really muddy section, that is where the four-wheel drive is critical. If you have an all-wheel drive in those conditions, it's not going to do it. So four-wheel drive for me is just the guarantee that all four wheels are driving the vehicle. And a lot of 4x2 guys are going to tell me, yeah, but we can drive anywhere that 4x4s can. And yes, you're right. I've had a 4x2 myself. And I've driven where 4x4s go. But your risk in damaging the vehicle becomes much greater. Because you don't have the low range option, and this is the second point of a four-wheel drive, is you have the very slow speed options. If I'm climbing a mountain pass that's fairly rocky and it's fairly steep, I want to go as slow as I can to make sure that I don't damage my tires and the underside of my vehicle. So I don't want to be out of control of the vehicle, and therefore I'm going as slow as possible. And that's what is critically important on four-wheel drives as well. So if you have a vehicle with 8 gears and the first gear is really slow and it's classified as a 4x4, then that would be a 4x4 in my books. Because if I want to get up a mountain which is a bit rocky because we need to get to the other side, then we can't afford to run on the clutch and use speed and power to break our way up the hill. We want to take it slow and carefully, and that avoids breakages. So it's important for us to have that ability, but we don't use it all the time, and that's the key. So if we do a trip, we go through Botswana, you can do it with a 4x2, no problem. And then you drive between Lenyante and Savuti, and suddenly that sand is so thick that you just can't get through there. And then you're stuck. Then you have nowhere to go. And then in that section, we need a 4x4. We are driving up to Tanganyika and sleeping at the bottom section of Tanganyika, and there's a 4x4 road that goes down straightforward. The lodge owners come in and out there with a 2x4 every day. But on the day that we arrive, the previous day, there was a big rainstorm, and a lot of the road has been washed away, and suddenly it changes from a 4x2 to a 4x4 trip. So if you make your choice on a vehicle as far as 4x4 to 4x2 goes, then you're not buying a 4x4 because we are going to drive up and down mountains and see how good this car is. That is not what we do. We need the 4x4 for those instances that we did not plan for but suddenly arose. So I'm going to show you two examples quickly. The first example is when we were in the Moremi recently. Where this water is, there has never been any water. But suddenly there's water, it's right in our path, and we can choose to take the 6 hours to go around, or we can just get through this little spot. So we chose to go through the little spot. Everything was fine, no problem. But it could have been worse depending on conditions. The second incident I want to show you was when we were going up to the gorillas in Uganda a few years ago. From Kisoro up to the Bwindi National Park area, we drive a very nice road, and on the day I decided, let's just take a gravel road that is closer to the lake, and we have excellent views of the lake itself. But as we drove past the lake and turned slightly uphill to get to the campsite, it started raining. And that section of the road has extremely steep declines and inclines, all on slippery mud. So we didn't plan to drive this road, but on the day we drove it because it was great to drive. It's a lovely road with pretty views. And then we found ourselves on a gravel road in rainy conditions, unexpectedly, and suddenly we were in trouble. And if you wanted to have a look at this video yourself, it's one of my guests that has a YouTube channel called Stofstrepe or Dust Clouds. So go and have a look at Estelle's video that she made of that specific trip. She's got many other trips that they've done with me and on their own as well. So that is the reason why we do it. If we didn't have 4x4s in this instance, we would not be able to get out of that ditch. And if we were stuck in this ditch, then that's it. We camp there. Otherwise, you wait for a truck or a tractor to come by with a big chain to pull you out there. And that is the reason for it. So it's not that we want to buy a 4x4 to go and test a 4x4. We're buying a 4x4, we're doing 4x4 trips because of what we don't know. And that is the key to a 4x4. So if you're thinking, do I need a 4x4 or don't I? Don't think of taking the vehicle onto a 4x4 track and breaking things. That's not my game. That's not why we drive 4x4s. Think about it as driving wherever you want to go and having the vehicle, in that case where it becomes extreme, that you can just get over the bump and carry on the other side driving normally. And that is the key. If you have a 4x4, you do things slower and you do things with more power control, and that means you don't break things. The moment you don't do it in 4x4 and you have something different that's not technically a 4x4, you start using too much power. You don't have control over it, so your right foot is pushing down because you're getting a bit scared, and then suddenly you start braking a vehicle. And that is the key to it. So your choice in 4x4 or 4x2 has got to do with what you want to do. If you want to do safari work, a 4x4 is not critical, but will give you a lot more peace of mind to just drive whatever route we get. If the sand is thick, if there was a rainstorm, if the road washed away, don't worry about it. We have what we need to get to the other side. And that's the reason we have 4x4s. So if you make your choices, if you need some more information, let me know. We can chat about it. Otherwise, have a great day. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.